The first question of my assignment is, what are the differences and similarities between the three texts? Think craft, structure, content, and style. I believe that the main similarity between all the texts is the message that is in them. They all have a message about resilience. Although we might think, although some of them might use little metaphors like animals or a pool, one of them uses a story with Jeanette Walls. As Jeanette was raised by her two parents, who raised her in a free-range parenting sort of arrangement. As Jeanette suffered, she had her parents starving, being outcast, and having to take responsibility for herself. She never stopped. When she realized when her glass castle was broken, when her dad went up that night, she said she was going to New York. She completely kept going and just broke the facade that her dad had put on her, that they were going to live in this fantasy castle made of glass. The glass castle shattered. This is similar to the hummingbird story, how they will never stop going, because as the text says, a hummingbird, they can fly more than 500 miles without pausing to rest. But when they rest, they come close to death. On frigid nights, or when they are starving, they retreat into torpor. Their metabolic rate slowing to a 15th of their normal sleep rate. Their hearts sliding nearly to a halt, barely beating, and if they are not soon warmed, if they do not soon find that which is sweet, their hearts grow cold and they cease to beat. That is what Hoyas Voladores is all about. Persistence also. Jeanette is like a modern day hummingbird. She never stopped going, and that is why she succeeded. If she had been caught in the facade and kept going with her parents, she probably would have not ended up being so successful. By getting a good job, being married, and she would have probably ended up like a crazy person, such as her dad or her mother. Also, in the text, Women's Hour YMCA, there is reference to the persistence thing. YMCA, the text says, early morning 3 times a week we gather at the Shallow End, young, old, not quite old, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, Noreen, and Vivian, and true love. All this means is that no matter where you come from, you can find your pool where everyone has a chance and is the same, no matter how they look, where they came from. It also says resistance is the key. To use the weight of earned years against your forward-moving body. That is why I find that this text is about resilience. That quote is talking all about counteracting forces, which to me is like an obstacle, and you resisting to give in and going forward. It is all about moving forward, stroke after stroke, and not stopping, being persistent. The question is, identify the 3 central metaphors for each text that discuss the use of the figurative to shape larger ideas apart from the literal narrative. Why is this important in nonfiction? Hummingbirds. I identified the 3 metaphors. For Hoyas Voladores, what I think it is that things will keep trying to knock us down. We will face obstacles all throughout our lives, but we must go on. We must have the heart to keep going. For the glass castle, the metaphor I think is the central metaphor is the title itself. So it's like the glass castle was an obstacle for Jeanette. So even when our glass castle shattered, we must go on into reality, face it, face first, and not be caught in the facade of a fantasy world. For YMCA, what I think is a central metaphor is that we must resist obstacles, such as water resists us. For, for example, one of the quotes that is on the text is, "Resistance is key. To use the weight of earned years against your forward moving self." So, basically it is saying to use everything that you have and have gathered all throughout your life and use it to guide you forward. I believe it is especially important for nonfiction stories to have these metaphors. This is because in nonfiction you are supposed to tell a story. Maybe your message isn't conveyed as effectively as if you use a metaphor. For example, in the glass castle, if Jeanette just would have not talked about her glass castle and how she titled the book The Glass Castle, we would have not probably seen the message that the glass castle shattered and that she kept going, and that her book was all about persistence, even in struggled situations that her parents put her in every day. With the hummingbirds, I believe that the nonfiction helps massively because we know it's reality, and that is why using a metaphor might impact us more. So since we know it's real, and that we see a real life example, for example hummingbirds, that they don't never stop going, because if they stop they will cease to exist, as the text says, that we must keep going, we must keep our hearts beating, and keep going no matter what the circumstance is. The third question is if nonfiction is crafted, is it actually true? What is the purpose of nonfiction if not the actual recording of the fact? How would these texts be altered if they were only the recordings of fact without craft? Something that might have not truly happened, but is a reality to you, is nonfiction, I believe. It might not be the recording of what actually happened, but it is what you felt. So, why I think it can be true, even if it did not happen, because it might have been true to you. You might be telling a universal truth, which I believe is still nonfiction. It might not be the recording of fact. For example, I believe that Jeanette Wall's story might have not actually happened just as she said. I believe a lot of the examples that she gave, for example, that her dad came home drunk every night, might have not been exactly true, and he might have exaggerated her situation a little bit. This does not make it false, because she was in a situation such as the one she said. So the whole purpose of this is to try to convey the message better than if by people just analyzing the evidence that you are giving. Just elaborating into these kind of things can help the text, because if these things weren't here, the message would not be as clear in the text. If Jeanette would have not exaggerated this kind of thing, then we probably would have not gotten the message. The message would have not been so clear as it was. Writers of nonfiction put these elements or metaphors in their stories so that I think it's the most effective way of communicating a message, because if we know it is a real life example, yet there's a metaphor conveying a message, then the message is more effective on the person, because we know it's not a made up story, and at the same time it is conveying a powerful message.